to talk to you for a few minutes today about the prophecy in the Bible that is probably the greatest prophetic fulfillment that could come down the pike since the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. I'm talking today about the elections that will be taking place in Israel next week on the 10th of February. We know that the prophecy talks about an agreement between Israel and the world community that will confirm the Abrahamic covenant, Israel's right to exist in Israel, in the land of Israel. This peace agreement that's prophesied in the Bible, it was prophesied 2,500 years ago, it may well be directly impacted by the election that will take place this coming Tuesday. Now, just to make sure that everybody understands, here's what the Bible prophesies: that the world community will confirm Israel's right to exist in the Holy Land, and that this will trigger the final 7 years to the Battle of Armageddon and to the second coming of Jesus Christ. So this is a prophecy with a specific time frame on it. It's one of the few prophecies we can say, okay, once that happens, we know we're 7 years from Armageddon. We know we're 7 years from the second coming of Jesus Christ. And this election taking place this coming Tuesday, February 10, is that impacting. So what's going to happen? Well, there are several factors playing out in the political scene of Israel. Most people say Benjamin Netanyahu is going to become the next prime minister of Israel. Tzipi Livni is over the Kadima party. Netanyahu is over the Likud party. And then there's Ehud Barak, who's over the Labor Party. As of right now, the latest poll is saying that the Likud party will have about 25 seats in the Knesset. The Kadima party will have around 21 or 22 seats in the Knesset. And you have to have 60 seats plus one to govern. That means whoever wins is going to have to form a coalition. But that's been the case since the founding of Israel in 1948. There has never been one party that's won 50% plus one of the seats in the Knesset. So they always form a government by cobbling together these coalition governments. So what's going to happen here? Well, Netanyahu says, we will not give away Judea, Samaria, the West Bank area. The whole world community says you have to. The United Nations says you must trade land for peace. Benjamin Netanyahu says we should not let go of the Golan Heights. The world community says you have to return to pre-1967 borders. Benjamin Netanyahu says we will never allow Jerusalem to be divided. It is our eternal unified capital of the nation of Israel. The world community says you must do this. And yet Netanyahu has been very much a part of the global establishment in that he was the ambassador from Israel to the United Nations. He's very well spoken. He comes across very well on television. So it looks like that Benjamin Netanyahu is out of step unless he runs on one platform and governs on another. Now, you can't write that off because that's happened repeatedly. It happened with Menachem Begin. It happened with Ariel Sharon. It happened with George W. Bush. It happened with Richard Nixon. So just because a person says one thing, that doesn't mean that's what you're going to get. Woodrow Wilson said it'll be peace in our time if you elect me, and within a year of his election, we were in World War I. Franklin D. Roosevelt said it'll be peace in our time if you elect me, and very shortly after his election, we were in World War II, the worst war the world has ever known. So that's the way political things go. But as far as what he stands for, Benjamin Netanyahu is nearer what he should stand for, what the prophecies of the Bible say a leader of Israel should do. However, he is also totally out of touch with what the world community says that he should do. Now, on the other hand, Tzipi Livni, who's head of the Kadima party, She has been negotiating for over 1 year now with Mahmoud Abbas and the representatives of the Palestinian Authority. The word is that they already really have a deal now. They're not making it public because Ehud Olmert is the transition prime minister of Israel, and therefore he is not empowered to make decisions that will affect the destination of Israel for the next 100 years or so. Consequently, they're saying they have a deal. Tony Blair says they have a deal. Even as recently as last week, George Mitchell, the newly appointed envoy from Barack Obama, the new president of the United States of America, George Mitchell actually stated that Olmert told him that they've got a deal done. But they can't implement it until after the elections take place. Now, if Livni is elected, here's probably what's going to happen. She's going to withdraw almost to 1967 borders, except for a few population centers where Israel simply has too many people, and they're going to say, okay, we've got to keep this 2%. We're going to give you another 2% out in the Negev desert or somewhere else, so that you can say you received 100% back, and still we won't have to try to uproot 150,000 Jewish people, which simply cannot fly. Livni also has said repeatedly there will not be a resettling of Palestinians inside the borders of Israel. They are welcome to come back in the newly created Palestinian state. And then Livni also has been negotiating the status of Jerusalem. Now, Livni contends that Israel will maintain access to the holy places. So how could this happen? Well, it can happen because there's a proposition to share the Temple Mount so that the Muslims would worship there, the Jews would worship there. It's a huge idea, and yet it's the very thing the Bible prophesies. So what's our conclusion? Where are we headed here? Well, if it's time now, if we're close to the time, or we're arriving at the time of the beginning of the final 7 years, if it's time for that on God's time clock, then it looks like Livni may some way become the prime minister, or else Netanyahu will get elected and outlive Livni, and that happens a lot, as you know, in politics, whether it's Israel or the United States of America or wherever it may be. So it looks like, even though all the polls are saying Netanyahu is going to be the next prime minister, all of a sudden the Likud votes are dropping. Livni's is holding and strengthening it a little bit, but then the Labor Party that's been in the coalition with Livni, they have a certain level of votes. And then Our Home Israel, the Beitenu party, headed by Avigdor Lieberman, is surprising everybody because they now are reporting like 16 seats. So if you add Kadima, the Beitenu party, and also Labor together, you almost have enough for the coalition. Now, already Shas has sided with the Likud, but between the two of them, they only have like 35 or 36 votes. They're going to have to put together a lot of other factors. So it could well be that even if Livni would not win the majority, let's say that Likud is ahead by 2 or 3 votes, if Livni can demonstrate that she can put the coalition together, then she may well get the call to put the government together. Or if Netanyahu is selected to put the government together and then he can't do it, he's allotted 30 days or 40 to put together a coalition. If he then can't do it, then Shimon Peres, the president of Israel, has the right to go ask someone else to do it. If they say, look, I've been talking to the heads of the different parties, we can put a coalition together. So what I'm saying to you is that's where we are right now. It looks like to me that if Livni is able to become the next prime minister, it means everything accelerates, prophetically speaking, and we could enter the final 7 years within the next year or so. Barack Obama says he wants to do it and do it quick. He's moving very fast in the Middle East, so we could very well accelerate. If Netanyahu is elected, either he changes everything and out Livni, or else everything may stall for a while. We simply don't know for sure. All the pieces of the puzzle seem to be lined up. But could we stall for a year or two? Of course we could. We simply don't know. But next Tuesday, we're all going to be watching, because this has eternal prophetic significance for you, for me, for all of us. Interesting times.